Greetings everyone and welcome back to another video. I have a special treat for you today. I'm planning a very special video and I needed some props for it, so I took a look around to see where I could get some little Star Trek starships, and I found this package of micro machines from the 90s. We're going to go ahead and do an unboxing and take a look at this baby. The first ship we're going to look at is the original Enterprise NCC 1701, no bloody A, B, C, or D. And it does look pretty good. It has a lot of detail. As you can see, the NCC 1701 on the nacelles and the saucer section. One of the nacelles in this particular one is a little bit bent. The material is kind of a rubbery plastic, so it doesn't feel like it's going to break or anything, but for the classic model, I think this one looks pretty good. Next up is the Borg cube. There's a surprising amount of detail when you look up close, with all sorts of little wiring and things on the outside. It has a sort of splotched black and silver pattern. The most noticeable thing about this model, other than its size compared to everything else, is how shiny it looks from certain angles. Next up is the next generation shuttlecraft. It has a 1701D on the side. It also says Berman and Enterprise. It has a nice gold and blue pattern on its little nacelles there. So a lot of detail in this little shuttle, and it looks great. Next up we have the original series Romulan Bird of Prey. This looks a little bit plain Jane from the top, but if you flip it over to look at the bottom, it has that bird pattern. It looks absolutely fantastic. It's one of the most notable features on any of these ships. Next up is the Cardassian Galer Cruiser. And the thing I really love about this, other than the nice detail on the end, is the little Cardassian Galer red symbol on not only on the wing part but also in the sort of front saucer section. They really put a lot of attention to detail into this model. There's even one on the bottom. It looks great. Next up is the Klingon Vorcha Battlecruiser. Again, this is a highly detailed model. You have the little KDF or Klingon symbol on there. And the most notable thing about this one is its lovely teal green color. Next up is the Galaxy class Enterprise D, NCC 1701D. And I don't like this. It's one of my least favorite ones. I have a soft spot for the Galaxy class, as TNG was my first Star Trek and still one of my favorites, but this model just doesn't look very good. It seems kind of squished, the front saucer kind of limps down a little bit, and the nacelles seem like they're smaller than they should be. Maybe it is proportional, but it just something about it doesn't look quite right. Next up we have the Klingon Bird of Prey, and this is a super nice model, even though I'm not really a big fan of this ship design. And it's got a very lovely green color. It's an excellent model. If you like the Bird of Prey, you would really love this one. Next up is DS9. Yes, that's right. The entire, not the show, but the actual space station, Deep Space Nine, came as its own model, and it certainly rivals the Borg cube for the biggest figure in this collection. It does seem a little bit wonky. It's not quite perfectly circular. It's not quite perfectly flat, so it's maybe a little bit beat up, but that probably happened in the package. But otherwise, it is highly detailed and quite nice looking. Next up is the Excelsior. It should be noted that this is not the 1701B, but rather the NCC 2000, which is basically the same ship. They're both Excelsior classes. The most notable thing about this ship is the nice baby blue color that it has, which it shares with the Reliant. I really like on the saucer section the little yellow parts around the outside. It's a very nicely detailed ship and quite a nice design. Next up is the Dideridex, and it is one of the coolest models in here. The Dideridex is probably a ship you either love or hate the design of, but they did this one just right. It is also one of the larger models in this set, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Next up is the Ferengi Marauder, and it is again a rather nice model, but it's not one of my favorites. It really doesn't have quite the same level of detail or differentiation in the color that some of the other ones do. It's most detailed on the bottom, but you don't really look at that most of the time. And on the top, it just looks like a more cheaply made toy than the rest of them, but it is still fairly accurate for being such a small and cheap model. Next up, we have the original Series D7, or at least that's what it looks like to me. I think the package just attributes it to being an original Series battle cruiser. Either way, it is quite nice looking. It doesn't have the same ornamentation or color patterns that some of the other ships have, but at least the basic shape of it and everything, and the few Klingon symbols it has on here do stand out. It is a nice model. Next up, we have the Reliant NCC 1864. It has the same sort of baby blue coloring that the NCC 2000 Excelsior has. There are people who are a big fan of this ship. I'm not one of them, but I will say that it is a very nice model for this ship. The saucer section, the coloring, the markings, it all looks great. Next up is what the box is calling the Rio Grande, and that is one of the runabouts from Deep Space Nine. On the bottom, this is one of the only ones that has a copyright 1994. It is registered as NCC 72452, although the print is very small and hard to see. This and the Enterprise shuttle are the two smallest models in this pack, and for being so small, it is also one of the most highly detailed. It looks simply fantastic. Last but certainly not least, we have the NCC 1701A Enterprise. This is a very nice looking model, and in some of the photos I took, this one came out the best, so I guess it's one of the most photogenic. Thanks for watching. Special thank you to all my channel members. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.